Today you're going to learn the trigonometry of right triangles. Right triangles have a right angle. You can also do trigonometry of oblique triangles, meaning triangles that do not have 90-degree angles. Laws of cosines and sines. Those are much more interesting. Today's child's play. You'll get it? No problem. Every time you're given an angle other than the 90-degree angle, it makes up two sides of the triangle. It makes up the hypotenuse, which is always the longest side in a 90-degree triangle. It's also the side opposite the 90-degree angle. The other side is referred to as the adjacent side. Adjacent as a word means next to. So the people who live adjacent to me aren't the people across from my house, they're people next door. So this is the side adjacent, the angle. So when people struggle, I always draw the angle, and those are the two sides. The one that's not made up by the angle, what's that one called? It's called the opposite, because it's across from the angle. Look across, there's the side. So, I don't know who came up with this. Again, I never used this growing up, but some people use that, so whatever. So what does it mean? Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So that means cosecant is hypotenuse over opposite. Cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse, so secant is hypotenuse over adjacent. And tangent is opposite over adjacent, so cotangent adjacent over opposite. In case you've never seen it before, don't understand, you just look at the letters. S stands for sine, O stands for opposite, H stands for hypotenuse. Cosine, adjacent, hypotenuse, tangent, opposite, adjacent. Everybody clear? All right, let's go to work. Find the exact value of the 6 trigonometric ratios of the angle theta in the triangle. So very similar problem what we had before, but this time we're given a triangle. Okay. In order to know all 6, I have to know all 3 sides of the triangle. How do I find the missing side? Pythagorean theorem. This is a Pythagorean triple. If you do 5 squared plus x squared equals 13 squared, you get x squared equal to 144. So therefore, x is 12. Now that you have x, you can then figure out all the rest of the components of the triangle for the 6 trigonometric ratios. What is sine? So therefore, I know cosecant is 13 over 5. What's cosine? Therefore, secant is 13 over 12. What's tangent? So therefore, cotangent is anybody confused about how we did that? Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side, then do the ratios. Any questions? Once, twice, thrice. The next example would just have a radical in it, and you would, simplify or rationalize the denominator. I've already done stuff like that. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. Let's flip over and find some new problems. So, before, in order to find a missing side of a triangle, you always had to have 2 sides, and you'd use the Pythagorean theorem. Which, by the way, Pythagoras, what country was Pythagoras from? Greece. Did you know that there's versions of the Pythagorean theorem in China, India, and all sorts of other places that came about at the same time? It wasn't just the Greeks that independently came up with these ideas. Other countries did as well. So people in other areas of the world that had never met, they were coming up with the same mathematics. It's kind of the idea that mathematics is this truth that we discovered, not that we invented. So kind of neat. Anyway, you got this angle 42 degrees. So the idea is now that you only have one side. You got 9. So how can we find x if we don't know this other side? Well, we use trigonometry. Question. Okay, so what we have here is we have x, which represents the hypotenuse, and we're given 9, which is the opposite side. So what I need to do is I need to choose from one of 3 trigonometric ratios. Do I choose to use sine, cosine, or tangent? Why do I choose sine? Opposite and hypotenuse, so I write it. Sine of 42 degrees is equal to your opposite side, 9, your hypotenuse, which is x. I like to write sine of 42 over 1, and then I cross multiply as I solve, because this is how your ACT will express many of the answers as well. Say 9 is equal to x sine of 42, and then it will divide by the sine of 42 and say 9 over the sine of 42 is equal to x. I take that and I evaluate that on the calculator. Let's talk about how to evaluate that on the calculator, because people do it incorrectly. You got to make sure you're doing the right thing. Press mode. Do I want to be working in radians or degrees? By degrees. Do you see the circle dot thing there? Question, Emily. You get a calculator on the test. You don't use a calculator on the quiz test. I go down and I select degrees. And I simply take 9 and divide it by the sine 42. And I get 13.45. If you learn how to do that back in geometry, okay, do the next 2 on your own. Remember the stuff that I wrote? Do you like it? Did you miss it? Now you're just drawing rectangles. All we're doing is drawing rectangles. It's like, what's the big idea? Okay, I don't care if you're off by a hundredth or not. Doesn't matter to me. Is that about what you got? Somebody want to see one of these done? Fran, did you want to see one? Did you see what you did? Okay. Every excellent mathematician knows how to check their answers. Watch. 14, true or false, is the longest side. So therefore, x should definitely be shorter. Shouldn't it? Okay, same thing here. This is opposite a 27-degree angle. This angle would be 63. So therefore, 9.4 is going to be longer than that side. So I got 4.79. So I don't know if it's for sure correct, but I know it's reasonable. I know it's reasonable. All right. Let's skip that one, go to this one, and we'll change it. Change it to 10 over 9. Doesn't work like 9 over 10. I wrote a bad problem years ago. I never changed it. So it says sketch a triangle that has an acute angle of theta and find the other 5 trigonometric ratios of theta. So there I've got my triangle. I got theta. What is secant in terms of opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse? It's the reciprocal of cosine. So Hypotenuse over adjacent. Very good. Big and Lindley. A plus for the day. So therefore, I can label the hypotenuse 10. Can label the adjacent side 9. Either or, it doesn't matter. All you're gonna, as long as you put the opposite adjacent in the right spot. If you put theta up here, then the adjacent's gonna be over here. So, how do I figure out the other side? Pythagorean theorem. 81 plus, we'll call it y squared, is equal to 100. So what's y squared? 19. So y is the square root of 19. Could you now list all 6? Yeah. No, you know it's a length, so you know it's positive square root of 19. So you know it's positive because it's a length. Sine of theta would then be what? Square root of 19 over 10. Cosine of theta would be what? Just 9 over 10, right? Could you finish off the rest of it? Right. So let's move on to some other stuff real quick. A kite is flying at an angle of elevation of 36 degrees. What that means is you got this kite. There's some string let out from the kite. It's flying in the air. Oh, it's a really bad kite. Whatever, who cares? All right, here's Garrett. Let's fly his kite. He's got 500 feet of string that's let out, and it's at a 36-degree angle, okay, of elevation. So the question is, how high is the kite? So we can use trigonometry to solve these things. Which one do we use? Gabe? Yeah, we use sine. Because you're looking for the side opposite the angle, and you're given the hypotenuse. So it's the sine of 36 is equal to what? H or x over 500. You cross multiply, you get h is equal to 500 sine of 36. It's 293 point what? 89 feet, okay? Something like that. So we can find a height. So it's useful. Trigonometry has a lot of applications. That's why we like it. Get that? Okay, let's do one more. Emerald, can you do me a favor? Thank you. If you pass one out to each person. All right, the other one says tree, 10 feet tall. Cast shadow, 7.3 feet long. What's the angle of elevation of the sun to the horizon? So what we want to know is we want to know this angle right here, theta. What angle is formed right there? What's different about this problem compared to other problems? Yeah, I don't know the angle. Everybody see that that's unique? Okay. Now, when people see this, sometimes they feel like it's magic. Okay? But when people see this, sometimes they think it's magic. I'm going to show you so that's not magic. I know tangent of theta is equal to what? 10 over 7.3. Now, watch what I do. Watch me go. Because this makes mathematical sense. I want to get at theta, right? If there was a 2 in front of the theta, what would you do? Because Multiplying by 2 and dividing by 2 are inverse operations. Tangent has an inverse operation as well. Watch what I'm going to do to both sides. I will only write this down once in your mathematical career. Tangent inverse of theta equals tangent inverse of 10 over 7.3. What I did is I took the tangent inverse of both sides. See that? It's the same expression, just I took the tangent inverse of both sides. What do you think happens when I do the tangent inverse of tangent? You're left with theta equals whatever the tangent inverse of 10 over 7.3 is. So if you go to your calculator and you go tangent inverse and just type in 10 divided by 7.3, make sure that you are working in degrees, press enter, and it tells you it's 53.87. The way that your calculator comes up with that 53.87 is a lot of mathematics. That's calculus 2 type stuff. So it's pretty cool. You just don't know all about it. That makes sense? Okay. I don't think you would have to go to radians. Okay, take out the worksheet I gave you. This is your assignment. We'll do 3 of the problems together real quick. Look at problem number 1. Problem number 1. Super easy. You want to solve for theta. Who can tell me which of the 6 trig functions do I use to solve for theta right here? I use cosine. Cosine of theta is equal to what? 12 over 13. If you're trying to find an angle, what do you have to do? You have to do your inverse operation. So all I have to do is take out my calculator and go cosine inverse 12 over 13. 2262. See that? You do that for the first whole set, 1 through 8. Let's look at 9. 9, you're given a 37-degree angle, side of 11 is side of x. Which of the 3 do we use here to solve for x? Cosine of what? Is equal to? Cross multiply. Somebody tell me what 11 divided by cosine 37 is? Well, 13.77. Does that make sense that x would be longer than 11? Okay, flip it over one more. For problem number 17, when it says solve the triangle, and this is what you're going to be asked to do on your test, it means you want to find all the missing parts. Watch this so you understand this very clearly. The large letters refer to the angles. What is angle B? What is C? So therefore, what is A? 28. We subtract from 90, we get 28. The little letters are the sides opposite the angles. Watch how I write this. Opposite angle A is side A. Opposite angle B is side B. And opposite angle C is side C. See how I wrote that? In the problem, which one do they give you? What do they tell you B is? 22.6? So, in order to finish off solving this triangle, that means be able to fill all 6 of these out. I have to find A or C. Which one would you like to find? Let's find A. If we want to find A and we're given B, which 3 of the trig functions would we use? Let's use tangent. Tangent of what angle? If you're going to use 62 degrees, if you're going to use A and B, then you got to use 62 degrees for tangent. We're almost done. Tangent 62 is equal to what? 2.6 over A. We cross multiply. And 2.6 is equal to A times the tangent of 62. What's 22.6 divided by tangent 62? 12.02. Once you have A, what can you do to find C? Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared is C squared. That's it. Full work day tomorrow, other than your short little quiz, shouldn't take more than 5 minutes, and a test on Wednesday, work day on Tuesday next week.